You know, one of the rules that we're taught to play by in social change is that social change is hard work. I've come to the point in my life where if I cannot change the world through a party or celebration, count me out. The most powerful ways of changing the world are celebratory, not hard work, not rational. They have nothing to do with publishing brochures and putting information out. You see, the way we changed the people of Wodonga's attitude to their street was not to go out and say, stop treating your street as an essentials-only shopping street, that's destroying the economic viability, etc. We created a celebratory experience that automatically changed it in their minds. You with me? And so celebration, taking, and when you come up against that glass ceiling, the creative challenge is, how do I do this in such a fun way that they cannot resist breaking through the ceiling?
I'm from a suburb that has a village shopping centre that is, I suppose, fair to say, very sad.
Yeah.
From what you're saying, you have to get, because the community won't go there anymore. So of course the situations in Engwicht have got empty shops, mostly just noodle houses and internet cafes. So is it about getting the community back involved first before you deal with the businesses, or is it a twofold, trying to do it at the same? I mean, where do you start? How do we, where do we literally start?
Okay, so the question is, if you've got a sad, run-down place where even the community is not supporting the shops, where do you start? Do you start working with the residents, or do you start working with the traders? My answer to that will be that you have to sit down with whoever else has an investment in this, and you have to create a realistic story about how your centre is going to be transformed. Pretend that by 2020 it is a vibrant centre, the community's embraced it. Create the picture of what you want it to look like in 2020. Then you have to create a story which starts with your current reality. Don't ignore your current reality, but you have to build a story of how you went from there to there, because unless you've got that story, you don't have a strategy. And what most people do is they go, let's try a bit of this, let's try a bit of that, let's try a bit of this, and it's blind hope. It's like, let's throw this bit out, throw that bit out, and just see what happens. If I go back to the freeway fight in Brisbane, when I said our entire community didn't believe that it was possible to win, and I did this instinctively. I didn't read a manual that told me how to do this. My response was, let's spend a day pretending we won, and let's tell ourselves stories about how we won. And then we based our campaign on the most exciting of those stories. Now, what that process did is, at the end of the day, our committee went from, it's a token fight that we can't win, to, well, maybe we can. Because what disempowers people is the fact that they can't see any realistic road that connects the present reality to an envisaged reality. And until you can create that in their minds, until there's a story there that says it may happen this way, there's no way that they can start the journey. They're going to wander up this road and that road, wondering whether it leads to a destination that hasn't even yet been defined. So I'm not going to give you a pattern for how it will happen, because in every locality that will be different. You have to map what your sphere of influence is as a group and work within the constraints of that. You must not build your story on the hope that somebody else is going to bring something to the table. So what are the passions? What are the skills? What are the strengths of the people that are there as change agents in that situation? You put those things in the centre of the table and you say, our story must only use those things because they're the only commodities we've got to make this change. Again, on the walk this morning, I find community after community gives their power away by, as I said in Wodonga, it's all about somebody else coming in from outside with you know, $500 million to take the railway line out of town or something, and they've been waiting 100 years for that. So communities have to learn and within organisations, you have to learn to work within your sphere of influence with the resources that you have access to. I'm over time.
Well, we could do this all afternoon, I think, and everyone's very settled in their lounge teas in a way, and listening to you talk, David, it's pretty exciting and quite humbling. So I just want to, I'm not going to even try to sum up, because I think there's people who come here and talk about their roles and their life experiences, and I guess there's two options. Is people will say great speech, and others will say, let's march, and I guess with you it's kind of both, isn't it, really? And so for us it's about getting on, doing it, making the best of what we've got, not waiting for someone else to do something, for us stop blaming the past, moving forward, and working with the skills and the experience that are right in front of our very eyes, often right below our very feet. So thank you so much, it's great to have you here.
Can I just give you two little gifts before I go? Two ways of thinking that will when I look back at why did I write a book without knowing anything about urban design that ended up being used as a text. Number one was that I lived in a cultural backwater until I was 38, and therefore I was still asking the dumb questions that kids ask at 38 years of age. Why do we have cities? Why do we have transport systems? One of the greatest ways that you can tap your creativity within this organisation is to learn to ask the but why question again. Every time somebody proposes something and it's the traditional way of doing something, but why? Why are we doing it this way? But why? But why? What are we trying to accomplish? The second way of thinking is to think like a fool, and I actually encourage in your meetings, etc., to even go through phases where you say, let's all think like a kid and ask the but why questions. Let's all now think like a fool. What the fool does is the counterintuitive. It's, what if we did the exact opposite? I'll give you a very quick example. Everybody assumes that we won't get people on public transport until we make it go faster, right? So the fool says, let's make it go slower and get more people on. And if you think about it, it will give you the key to making public transport more attractive. And that is, it's no longer about transport, it's about the quality of the experience. Where it is so great that every passenger says to the driver, please go slower, I don't want to miss any of this great experience. You see how the fool's question opens up a whole new way of looking at the world. So there are very simple techniques that you can use to start to be more creative within your work. And when I look at my own creativity, I did all of those things intuitively. I hadn't systematized it into saying I think like a child, I think like a fool, I think like a marginal person, etc. But it is, if you can help people to do that, then it does open up a whole range of things.
Brilliant. Can we